Douglas, how you doing?
Mate, I'm fucking interesting. Actually, I never shut the door to my room, so my wife uh, is probably really annoyed because she's trying to sleep. So,
We have
uh,
been swearing and cursing trying to set this up, so
yeah,
it's very, very likely that she is sitting in there just going, just sort it out.
yeah, just
Just
for the love of God,
sort it
give it up.
out. I see you're working from home. You've got your Elite Gamer headset on. It's like you're about to play Call of Duty.
Yep,
About
I
to
I need
just
like a
down some
wrist strap
fools.
or something like that, just so I don't get carpal tunnel. I need to be at peak performance.
Yeah, and you know idle threat.
That's going to be a good
Yeah, I
joke
did
for
it.
the audio listeners. Sight gag.
Yeah, I
That's
did
great.
it.
How are you going?
oh, oh man, pretty good, pretty good. Obviously we're back in lockdown, so
Mm.
I haven't seen a lot of people in the last couple of days. My housemate basically, and yeah, I I don't know about you. I really didn't handle the big long lockdown that we did overly well last
Mm.
time in 2020. I really didn't know what to expect, and I really freaked out for a week or two there. But now it's kind of a little bit like, yeah, this is longer than those two snap 3-day lockdowns we've done this year. But this one, it feels like we got the hang of it now. We kind of know what we're doing. Is it like you did that long one in Sunny Coast, right?
I did, yeah, and I ironically enough just got back from overseas, and I
Oi,
was playing gigs full time before I went over, essentially. So I was playing at
yeah,
pubs and stuff, and so when I got back, I was ready to ramp up. I was like, right, I'm going to start booking gigs from like February onward, and then. When I realized what was happening, I was also trying to get electrical jobs, and that was falling through. And
yeah,
I ended up probably about 2 months there where I was just at home waiting for something to happen. But it wasn't that bad for me because my thing was always, well, when I have holidays, I like to stay home. Like we'd been overseas,
yeah,
but like I was
yeah.
like overdue for, I really wish I just had a week where everyone left me alone and I could just focus on like writing music and cleaning the place up and just, doing all these little projects that I had. And I got that time. I did get that time.
Yeah, a little too much, perhaps.
Little too much, yeah. But because the conspiracy theorist out there would say, well, isn't this just the perfect thing, Tim? You're saying, well, we've had a couple of lockdowns now. We're kind of used to it. We're conditioned to it and stuff. And so now when it
They're
happens,
like,
you're
that's
like,
what they
oh,
want. They've
well,
got you.
they've got you thinking that way. But I mean, what are we going to do about it? I mean, even if the conspiracy theorists are right, is going out and protesting about it really actually I don't want to go down that rabbit hole with people, but it's just I understand people's frustrations and stuff, but it's not for me. So
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, I mean, that kind of means that we have a lot of time indoors to watch flicks and listen to tunes, right?
yeah, in
Um,
theory, yeah. So
so you got a tune, mate? What's your song
I
this week?
I do actually. It's snuck back up on me, this one, and it
Oh,
reminds me of better times because this actually. So there's a band called Brass Against.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Hell
Brass
yeah, love
Against,
them.
right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
brass band and woodwind, just a big band kind of feel of saxophones and trumpets and everything. Uh,
There's a
but the,
sousaphone as well, as far as I know.
yeah, like the big old like yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I think it's their guitarist. So they also have a guitarist and drummer, and I think it's their
yeah,
guitarist that is sort of the ringleader and has the musical taste of metal and heavy shit. And
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
the majority of the songs they normally do on YouTube, they got a YouTube channel and they get usually a female singer, and they'll do Rage Against the Machine songs, hence Rage Brass Against. But they also do a lot of Tool covers. And
Yeah,
about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, they covered The Pot by Tool,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
just like there's just something about that song. It's
yeah,
because let's be honest, Tool have a lot of slow, ambient songs. They don't have a lot of bangers, right? Like, how many Tool bangers do you reckon you could name?
Oh, about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
But like the rest are like, you know, what you're describing there is like see the entire runtime of Fear Inoculum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Tool is
the entire 78 minutes.
It is a band that you're either sitting down and you're committing to an album and you're getting really high and immersing yourself, or at a party they're not a just chuck, you know, whatever on a playlist. Like you got to pick the songs that you know, if you're going to put it on in the background and stuff where people aren't just like, why is the party so dead all of a sudden? Oh, it's because we hit a 4-minute silence.
I think if you were talking about Tool songs to put on at parties, and look, these are only singles, so don't like crucify me for not going in like deep cuts to their catalog. But if you're going for like, you're at a party where there's like people who are like open-minded, so they're not going to like first of all complain that you're just playing Tool in the first place. Tool doesn't seem out of place at the party, but you also want to cater for as many people as possible. I think there's probably only 3 or 4 choices. In my mind, there's only like Stinkfist, 46 and 2, Vicarious, you know, maybe something like
Lateralis or something.
Lateralis or Eulogy, something like that. And like, that's about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're keeping it as like, you know, level playing field for everyone at the party. You're not just at a party of dudes, like a circle jerk listening to Tool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's either. I remember when 10,000 Days came out, that me and my mate worked out how old we were going to be when we were 10,000 days old.
Did you go down the spiral, mate? Did you spiral down?
Well, it was it was that thing of like, he was like, man, I love this album so much, and it just like, I just want to like, you know, because I can't remember how old you are when you're 10. It's like 27 or something like that. But so he's like, you know, on that day, I just want to go and like, you know, sit on the roof on like a, you know, on like a starry night and just get high and listen to this album in full. Like it was just that he so enjoyed it, and that's definitely a thing you can get out of Tool. But we were talking about gateway drug music last week with like the Nickelback and gets into heavier shit and stuff like that. Like you can't just give someone a Tool album and say, go listen to that and come back and tell me what you think, because unless they're already in that frame of mind, you know, like that's a fucking tall order to just raw dog a Tool album. So in terms of like gateway songs, The Pot, I think is like a really good, catchy,
absolutely, it's, and Brass Against, I think, like does a really great version of it. They add a real groove to it that I feel like sort of doesn't exist in the original. It's got the spirit but a different groove. Like they've kind of had to hit the like to transpose it for the brass. It's like they've had to add like a real groove to it.
It's all in the arrangement though too. I think that it's not like, if you listen to the actual, like the length of the song is the same, all the parts are the same, and like all the music, you know, they don't really add stuff to it, but in giving certain parts to certain instruments, you get this like way broader sound. And man, that I got to meet, so I saw these guys live in February last year, before that, like they snuck that in.
And that tour got announced really late, or it started being promoted really, really late, because it got announced and like they mustn't have been, the promoter mustn't have paid for any promotion or anything like that, because I didn't even realize they were coming. And then like 2 weeks out from the tour dates, I started seeing the posters pop up. I'm like, what the hell? This could have been publicized so much better.
But they still had a great tour. It was a Tuesday night, I think. I came down because I was still living in Sunny Coast. I came down to Brisbane for it.
Is it the Zoo, right?
No, it was at the Trifford.
No? Oh, it was the Trifford, right. Yeah.
Tuesday night at the Trifford, and it was packed. It's fucking packed.
Yeah, sick.
And I had a mate of mine.
And I just punched their entire promo budget that last 2 weeks.
I think I bought tickets to it. I think the tickets got announced in December. and I wasn't going to buy tickets because it was a few days before we left to go overseas. And I was like, I can't spend that cash. And I thought more about it. I'm like, when is the next time I'm going to get to see a brass band live playing Tool songs? Bought 2 tickets.
And also, little did you know.
And little did I know. Exactly right. Yeah. And so, we went and saw that live, man. And to watch, like, it's, you know, who was saying about the broad spectrum that you get out of these covers, you know, these really well mic'd, really well thought out studio covers. And then to go and see it live, you are expecting like, it's not, like, it can't be the same, but it's different in the best way. It's a bit stripped down. They didn't have quite everybody there. But not only do they really faithfully reproduce the songs, but something about being in the room with a band that big is just, it's indescribable. Indescribable.
Indescribable.
Indescribable.
If you like them, there's a Brisbane band called Bullhorn.
Dude, Bullhorn. Yeah. Actually, I think Bullhorn opened for them, I think.
That makes sense. That would be the only band you would book.
They did open for them, And ironically enough, actually, I didn't. I really like Bullhorn, but I didn't actually get to watch them that night. We rocked up a little bit late because. So the extra thing I wanted to bring up about this was I had a mate at the time, who he was going through a breakup at the time. That's all I'll say. Just went through a bit of a breakup. It was not a good time for him, and he was looking for something to do for a reason to, you know, just get out, take his mind off things.
Yeah.
And so I had 2 tickets to this, and it turns out the missus, because it was a Tuesday night in Brisbane, we're in Sunny Coast. She's like, look, I got to start work really early in the morning. I'd love to go, but I think he'd appreciate it more. And so I rang him up and I said, hey man, how do you feel about coming and watching some Tool covers tonight? And he's like, I fucking love Tool. Who's doing it? And he'd like thought it might have been like Carnival or, you know, like
some local band or even
an applicable band doing, you know, those covers. And I was like, that's a brass band. He's like, what? I've never seen someone beam so hard. Like to see, because that was his first time ever hearing any of that shit. And he was like, how the fuck are they playing Tool songs? And I feel like I'm watching Tool. Like I know that it's it's a totally different band, but like he couldn't, it was, to him, it was just as good. Not the same, but, you know.
That's sick. Yeah,
it was very fucking cool, man. Very cool.
I got two little deviating stories out of that.
Yeah. Okay.
One, there's a Brisbane, I don't think they're together anymore, but there used to be a Brisbane band called Dubmarine. And my mate, Paulie Watson, was in Dubmarine. He's from Rockhampton, and he's the bass player. And the Powerhouse used to do a series of events where like local bands would play like a famous album in full.
Yeah. Yep.
And like there's one band that did like the Pulp Fiction soundtrack in full, which I thought was sick. Yep. But Dubmarine did The Fat of the Land by The Prodigy.
Oh, right. I couldn't name a Prodigy album, so that's where you got me.
Sorry. But they got members of Bullhorn, I believe, and they also had their own brass in the band to play along with them, and that was sick. But the other story that I had about that is what you said about like potentially Carnival covering Tool. Members of Carnival, not including Kenny. I'm not sure if it's all of the other members of Carnival, but definitely Hoss and definitely Drew do a Jeff Buckley tribute set.
Right.
And they do Grace in full.
Wow.
Which would be, and they've only ever played it in Perth. And I really want to see it.
I can imagine that would just be like, that's kind of seems, it's a surprising thing to hear, but it almost kind of seems like it would be the perfect bunch of guys to do.
Yeah, dude, go and give Jeff Buckley's Grace a listen again and tell me that that's not just the sickest thing ever. Right. Like the guitar work in that, it just makes sense. Like
I've got homework then, because I honestly I couldn't name. I don't think I've ever really listened to Jeff Buckley before. Like bits and pieces. It's the pop culture stuff. I've definitely heard bits and pieces. Yeah. Ignore anyone who just sits there going like, man, have you ever listened to Jeff Buckley? Like, Yeah, yeah.
Like get past that and then go and listen to it yourself. And like, it's way heavier and way like more like raw and emotional than like, yeah, than you'd remember or think.
I came really late to the party with Carnival.
Yeah,
because exactly kind of the effect you're talking about is the whole, you know, you meet someone and like, oh my God, man, Jeff Buckley is just like, that's the pinnacle of music. And with shit like that, where people talk about Radiohead, like if the world ended and Radiohead lived, everything would be okay. You know, like there's people that idolize these bands to the point where it's like they're smelling their own farts. And with Carnival, I had a few friends growing up that were like frothing over Carnival, but it was the only thing they would talk about. And I already, like, we weren't on the same wavelength with music as it was. You know, people with heavy music, because it's so fragmented. There's a friend that you got that said they're into heavy shit, and you're like, yeah, so am I. And you start hanging out, and you realize that you actually you're just a little bit, yeah.
Or they only like one band and they know everything about that one band.
And I had a couple of mates, that had Carnival was the band, was like, this is the only band that ever existed. And so for me, I was like a teenager and I'm already soaking up so many other bands and influences and shit. And I hear these guys talk about it like they're the only band under the sun. And it was enough to make me go like, I don't know if I already am skeptical about how good that band is, and there's so much other stuff to consume. And then like 3 or 4 years later, I was listening to a song off the Martyr. I was like, oh, and then I listened to another one. I was like, oh, and then I'm like, fuck, this band's really sick. Why did no one ever tell me about this band?
Yeah, see, I feel like that's the problem. Like, if you're in a group of people, right, and stop me if you've had this conversation, but like everyone will have like, everyone in that circle around the fire or around that, you know, that very specific, you know, backyard patio table that everyone has. And everyone's got a pretty general knowledge of music or heavy music as it were. But like, and you're going around, everyone's got their opinions, everyone's saying this and that. And like that one guy just keeps me like, yeah, and like Killswitch Engage, like blah, blah, like that. It always comes back to, oh, yeah, Jesse this and Jesse that and Howard this and Howard that. And you're like, dude, like, check some other bands out. Like,
go listen to some other bands. Like, I'm very careful about how much I talk about Every Time I Die, because I have that tendency. I was going
to bring it up.
Yeah, no, but I do.
Bring it up.
Like, because for me, they were such a formative band for me, but also the guys have gone off to do so many other different things. Same with Dillinger Escape Plan. It wasn't like, you know, like, name a side project of the guys from Slayer. Name a Metallica side project. There aren't any. But you meet the person who goes, oh, Metallica is so great. Oh, what?
Well, it depends. Like, are we counting like Newstead's side projects after he left Metallica? No. That has to be parallel.
I mean, like, you know, like name a Hetfield or an Ulrich. You know, like, the point that I'm making is there's these bands that are these hallmark bands, or Pantera, like we talked about last time. These hallmark bands, Pantera admittedly did have side projects. I quite liked Damage Plan. I'm not a big fan of Phil's stuff, but you know, like they did other shit. But the thing that I like about bands like E-Tid, Dillinger, and Mastodon is these guys are just like, oh my God, I have to make music. I have to fucking make music. I have to do creative shit. And they'll just sink themselves into whatever and do other shit. And I enjoy talking about those guys because I think they're like rock solid, like figures in the industry for diversity and acceptance and blah blah blah. Whereas if I meet someone who says they're in the Metallica fan club, alarm bells start ringing for me, because I'm like, that's the only band this guy's listened to for the last 30 fucking years. And I mean, but at the same time, if you look in my room, and even the picture that's right behind me at the moment over that side, I'm mirrored there, that's a Jordan Buckley from E-Tid. He did that, and I got that on E-Tid tour. So I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I'm not
That
a
you're
little
not
bit
that
the
guy.
guy. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a little bit of energy about the whole that whole thing, that whole phenomenon we just talked about. I came across this game show called Actually.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of that energy to it. That sort of actually, I'm going to stop you there. You got something wrong about kill switch engage. You know what I mean? There's and I guess it's this weird thing of I find it annoying but also endearing because I definitely have that energy about Star Wars.
I've seen your face change when you'll be just having a conversation with someone and then someone will say something something about Star Wars that isn't right or is conflicting, and you'll be talking and stuff, and then all of a sudden you'll just kind of go, and you'll just see your brain is morphed and you're like, right, I need to fix this and then we can move on.
It gets to me, Doug. I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups for buy, sell, and trade of Star Wars figurines.
Yeah, of course.
And you would think that the people in these groups, you've made it. Some of these people, it's their fucking income. This is how they make money. They just buy, sell, trade, and make profit. And you would think that these people would be fans as well, but I see people in these groups. They'll write Boba Fett, right? But everyone says Boba Fett. But you would think they would know how to spell that. It's only Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
But so many of them write Boba Fett. I'm like, that's not right, you son of a bitch.
But why? But why exactly? Although I would say the other way, if you actually think about it, and this is the English nerd coming out at me, and I know it's not English, it's Star Wars, but if it was Boba, it would be Boba.
Yeah.
And then Boba is Boba. But you're saying that it's Boba Fett or it's Boba Fett?
No, it's Boba Fett.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I thought you said the other way around, because I was going to say
No.
That's the thing that I find interesting about things like Star Wars is even though they're all these made up names, they still follow just your regular English conventions in a lot of way.
For the most part, yeah. And it's you just go by the way people say things in the movie. So when Han Solo says his name in Return of the Jedi, he says Boba Fett, where? And it's there it is. There's the example of how the word is said.
Right. Actually, that's another one that gets me is have you ever had to have the argument with people about Han Solo versus Han Solo?
They addressed that in Solo.
Oh, they did?
Movie Solo.
Right.
Because, have you seen it?
I have. I don't remember much about it.
But Lando, because Lando is the only character in the old trilogy that calls him Han. Everyone else calls him Han.
Because Bobby D. Williams just doesn't listen to anybody.
Billy D.
Billy D. Sorry, I've got the Bob
Billy D.
in my... Yeah. Thank you for proving the point as well about having to correct
Exactly. Exactly right. So in Solo, Han Solo introduces himself as Han, and while they're playing Sabak, the card game, he just tries to piss him off by calling him Han repeatedly.
Right.
And he just sticks with him. And so they just turn it into a character trait where he's calling him Han because he knows it pisses him off.
I like that they even bothered with that. That's great.
Yeah. And Han has something that he calls him back as I can't remember what it is, but it's they turned it into a character thing. I was like, fucking brilliance.
The thing is too, I listened, so it's a bit of a long bow to draw, but I was listening to Conan's podcast and he had Michael Key, and he had on his sketch show, Key and Peele, Billy D. Williams came and like did a bit on their sketch show, and they said having him there, they could just 100% see like why he was who he was in the Star Wars movies, because he was just totally like cool and chill, but also pretty business. And he had a hard out. He had to be out by like 1 o'clock. And so he like the whole time in between things, he was always like, so what's the time? Because I got to go. But it was just always that like, you know, that when 1 o'clock comes, he could be in the middle of a take and he'll just walk off and leave because I'm Billy D. Williams. I got places to be. Like you know that there would have been someone there on set, like George on set being like, it's Han. He's like, Han, got it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. We're on a wild deviation here now, but
I will say I don't actually know how long we've been recording for either, because we're on Zoom today.
Let's just feel it out.
Let's just feel it out. I feel like we're at about 25 minutes. Let's see if I'm right. Tell me if I'm at 25 minutes, guys.
Comment below. So are you across the original two Tim Burton Batman films?
Yeah, so hang on, wait. So there's the one with Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman.
Yeah, that's the second one. Yeah.
That's the second one. The one before that was
Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Oh yeah, they were separate. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm good.
So the first one's Jack Nicholson, Joker, and the second one is Chris Walken as Max Schreck, Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, right? But so the character of Harvey Dent is in the first film.
Yeah, and who is it though?
Billy D. Williams, right?
It is. Yes,
it's Billy D. Williams. With the fact that they were going to make Batman, the early scripts of Batman Forever, when it was still with Tim Burton, was going to be Billy D. Williams returning as Harvey Dent, turning into Two-Face. So he was going to be the villain of the third movie, as it ended up being.
Yeah,
and it was going to be Billy D. Williams as Two-Face, Robin Williams as the Riddler.
Oh,
yeah. So there's another tangent I can go on after this, but so the comic books just recently have decided to make a series called Batman 89 because they've made Batman 66. So they made a comic book series based on like the Adam West, Burt Ward, Batman and Robin TV show back in the day. And then they made a comic book of Wonder Woman 77, which is like Linda Carter's Wonder Woman.
Right.
And they made a series on Superman 78, which was like Christopher Reeve's Superman. So now they're making a series of comics that follows on from the Tim Burton movies, as though Tim Burton continued on with the series, and this series is like what happened with the characters in that world, right?
Okay.
And so they're making it's only a couple of days away now. It's not out yet, but the first issue is like Billy D. Williams. It's like Billy D. Williams' character as Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face. And like, I don't know if you know, but they also had a Robin casted as well for Batman 3. It was Marlon Wayans.
Wait, for who, sorry?
Robin.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds fucking terrible.
He was casted. That guy, to this day, still gets royalties from Batman Forever, even though he never filmed a frame based on his contract. He still gets royalties from like every time it's reprinted on Blu-ray or DVD or put on streaming or whatever. Marlon Wayans gets Batman Forever royalties. Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. I wish I got paid for everything I never did.
Yeah. How nuts is that? So he was contracted the whole lot, and as soon as Tim Burton stepped out and Joel Schumacher stepped in,
far out.
cast refresh.
But okay, but by that logic then, so he must have had a fucking great contract, because by that logic then, Eric Stoltz should be getting paid for everything that ever happened
to the
with
Future?
Back to the Future, yeah. Fucking hell.
I'd say, yeah. But the other thing about the Batman series as well is that Robin Williams is a massive Batman fan. Was. RIP.
Yeah, I wasn't going to correct you, but yes.
Right? He got rejected. He, as you know, never made it to a Batman project ever. But 5 times missed out on the being cast for various reasons. The first of which was that he was used as bait with Jack Nicholson to get Jack Nicholson to sign on as the Joker. So Jack Nicholson turned it down to begin with, and they went to Robin Williams, went like, look, Jack Nicholson didn't want it. Here's the role, and here's the pay and what have you. And he went, yeah, I'll do that. Absolutely. And then they went back to Jack and went, Robbo's interested. And he went, all right, I'll take it. So they used him as bait there. Then he was up for Riddler and Batman Forever as well. Then when the Tim Burton thing came down and Joel Schumacher took over, and Jim Carrey obviously is like the biggest thing since sliced bread in 1995. So Jim Carrey took that role.
I can't believe that you would ever turn down Robin Williams.
Yeah.
For anything, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. He was in talks for the Dark Knight trilogy as the Riddler again.
How the fuck would that work?
They wanted to incorporate the Riddler. Like they were considering it once when Heath Ledger died.
Yeah.
They were considering, because there was a role for the Joker in The Dark Knight Rises originally.
Right.
And they were considering changing the character to what the Joker was going to do in The Dark Knight Rises. They were considering changing it to the Riddler and casting Robin Williams.
Yeah. But it probably wouldn't have been a big enough thing to justify introducing a new character. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, I lied. He was going to be, you remember in The Dark Knight Rises, the Scarecrow is like the judge of like a kangaroo court. He's like, he's
in
like
The Dark
sitting up
Knight
on a big,
Rises.
Yeah. You know when like the city's in like siege.
I didn't
like
think the Scarecrow was in Dark Knight Rises.
Very, very briefly. He's the one who makes people walk out on the ice and they fall in. You remember?
Oh, shit. Okay. No, I'll have to go back and check that out.
Go back and watch it. So he's like holding this. He just like judges everyone to be guilty because he wants them to die. So like, doesn't matter what they've done. He's just like, yeah, guilty. And then like makes them walk out on the ice in the river and then they fall in and just die. That was going to be the Riddler, and that was going to be Robin Williams' cameo, essentially, in a Batman film. Yeah.
But when did Robin Williams die, though?
I think like 2014 or so.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to go and check all this out now. That's like...
That's a lot of trivia bouncing around in my head, eh?
Well, I mean, if there was anyone that I would expect to have all the Batman trivia, it'd be you or our friend Tomo.
Tomo.
Yeah, Tomo. Fuck, man.
In fact, Tomo may, in fact, correct me on a bunch of these things, but there's like... I'm certain there are 5 instances in which Robin Williams missed out on being included in a Batman film.
Somewhere there's Tomo and he's going, it's Boba Fett. Okay. Sick.
So my tune this week is...
We never got to that, did we?
No.
Fucking hell. We
started on your tune.
Right. Okay.
We ended up on Batman from Brass Against.
Sense made.
So yeah, so it's your Eastern European brethren, Ukrainian band Jinjer.
Are you Ukrainian? Fuck me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely,
wow.
They're Ukrainian.
So new song,
new song called Mediator,
right?
and it's technical death metal for those who are playing at home, but it starts with this really intense intro, and then the singer just goes stop, and then there's like silence. Go.
I love me a good go in a heavy song.
Yeah.
Like in was it Lamb of God? It was Ruined by Lamb of God. Go. And then at the gates as well.
But
they're
then
pretty good for it.
But then like the verses almost have this like jazz feel about them.
Right.
Like they stop it right down, and she's doing like this like sort of real lounge jazz vocal, and it's just sick, man. If you've not checked out like Jinjer, and like the singer's name is Tatiana. The fact that she has both voices in her, this beautiful clean and the most vile of dirty like vocal. Ugh. Oh my God.
I got to admit, right, I've always found it, I mean, I can't scream. I wish I could. And I'm working on it. Like I want to get there, because I do, I've been playing heavy music virtually all my life, and I've always wanted to do that. But, and I wouldn't say I'm an amazing singer either. I can hold a tune, I can do stuff. I play music for a living and I sing and all that shit. But people that can scream really, like, I find that so interesting how they can cultivate that. But then there's a lot of people that scream that don't sing, like Dance Gavin Dance. John Mass.
Oh yeah, where you got both.
Yeah, but I don't know whether it's he can't sing or he chooses not to sing. I had a lot of friends that were screaming vocalists and stuff that couldn't/wouldn't sing. But to hear people that do both, it only makes sense to me, because if you can scream like she screams, surely you'd have to be pretty adept, pretty fit. Really know.
You would have to think that it's about. You'd have to think that it's about control of your instrument more than I mean, there's a control and understanding of the range of your instrument.
Exactly. Surely. Did you ever hear about the Zen of screaming?
No.
So there was a chick, I'm not going to remember what her name was now, but like she got pretty popular, like infamous in the metal scene, because M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold blew his voice out pretty bad. She was it was Melissa Cross. She was the one that basically taught him how to start using his voice again and screaming by giving him breathing techniques.
Was she also the one that helped John Davis?
Yes, well, she will have been. Yes. And also Matt Heafy from Trivium as well. So around that sort of 2005, 2008 period, there were all these bands where there was this, I wouldn't say a new wave, but there was this like big, like up and coming wave of vocalists that were doing things where they were going on
MySpace Core,
their voice out. MySpace Core. That's exactly the time, because she brought out Xena Screaming about 2006, I think. And
there were so many MySpace deathcore bands, and none of them were trained vocalists or anything like that. Yep. They could scream real good, but all they were doing was damaging their vocal cords.
Randy Blythe from
MySpace Core.
Well, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God as well. He went through as well. But yeah, it's that MySpace Core era of everyone's trying to do this stuff, and there were people that worked it out how to do it properly, but a lot of it was breathing techniques. And so actually, I think Matt Heafy was someone else, actually. He added even another one, but there's all these classically trained singers that saw, well, hang on, there's these guys that are doing this stuff that isn't conventional, isn't my scene, but I can be impressed by what they can do with their voice, but I can see what they're doing wrong and they're going to lose it. And so her whole Xena Screaming DVD, apparently, I haven't seen it, is mostly breathing techniques. It's mostly making weird sounds, going like that, or like doing like ramping up and down and making these crazy sounds. But then these guys,
as if any of these people were warming up,
tear guts. No one.
As if any of them were warming up whatsoever.
Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die, he used her as well. And you can go and you can listen to the album Hot Damn, where he's screaming and everyone loves the raw sound of his voice. And then the next album they brought out, a whole bunch of people panned it and they said, oh, it doesn't sound, the same. We don't like it, blah, blah, blah. But it was like when Hetfield started learning how to sing properly and everyone's like, fuck, I don't like that. He just got better.
Yeah.
What he was doing was cool and interesting, but it wasn't good.
Or sustainable by the sounds. Eventually you get nothing from that person.
Yeah, that's it. Do you want one really cool album, or do you want fucking 5 really great albums?
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, fuck, I have to check out that Jinjer track. It sounds awesome. Dude,
yeah,
there's old blokes that I work with that listen to Jinjer. It's just the appeal is wide.
Yeah, 100%. Their live shows and I think it appeals across the board because you've got old school metal people that are impressed by the technical capability of the musicians in the band. They really hold it down. They are incredible musicians. It's almost like they would also work just as well as gent players or in progressive metal or prog rock bands. They are metronomes all, and then you've got dare I say it, this absolutely gorgeous woman, fronting the band, as well as that she also has this technical mastery of her instrument as well, at both ends of the scale, and they get their marketing right. They, the songs are absolutely baller. I can see why it appeals to musicians, old metalheads as well. People that are into really technical stuff, people that are into prog and gent. You find a lot of women who are fans of the band as well, obviously because they see Tatiana and they see what a badass that she is, and that she is out there playing what is traditionally seen as a man's game. And she's out there doing it better than all of them, frankly. I think there's just something for everyone there. Even if you're not into metal, you can be certainly impressed by the skills of that band.
I'll say as well that the fact that I know when I was growing up and there were bands like Arch Enemy that had it was Arch Enemy had a female vocalist, and one other band, Nightwish In This Moment as well, I think was another one, had a female vocalist, and they were great in their own right, but you could tell that they were chicks that were screaming in the same way you can tell that it's a dude that's screaming, there's a different quality to their voice. But there was a lot of people that are like, oh, it's not the same as having a guy vocalist, I don't like it, blah, 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 and all people just having problems for no fucking reason. It didn't make it wasn't that they had bad voices, it was just that they could tell that it wasn't a guy because it didn't sound fucking 2 octaves lower than everything else. But with Jinjer, I'd be fucked if I could tell you that. Same with Spirit Box. I'd be fucked if I could tell you who it is that's doing those vocals. They stand alone as being great without having to be like, oh yeah, but there's just none of it.
So anyway, that's my tune for this week.
Fuck yeah. So for a flick, I actually don't have a flick. I have a genre that I want to talk about. Yeah.
All right.
I'll keep it brief, but so the way that my life works is that watching whole 2-hour movies and stuff can be a bit difficult because I find myself here, there, and everywhere. I have a few things I do during the week. We do this and stuff, and then on the weekends, the missus and I, if we do sit down and watch something, it might be we watch there's YouTube channels and stuff that we watch videos of. And so for me, doing this has been great because it's inspired me to start really digging into movies again. Because most of my movie knowledge has been from when I have a day off sick and I'll watch 2 movies or something, Yeah. And so the way that I consume movies a lot is that I will watch a scene or two on YouTube, and then that will lead me to going, okay, fuck, I got to watch this movie now. You know what I mean? Instead of trailers,
Usually
I
that
watch
puts me
scenes.
off. Usually that puts me off because I go, oh, I've seen all the cool bits I wanted to see out of that movie now. I don't need to watch it.
Yeah.
Like if I've already seen it. If I'm thinking about going back and rewatching it.
Yeah.
If I go onto YouTube and I watch like, maybe they put like a 7 or 8 minute scene up, I'm like, did I want to just see that scene or did I want to watch the whole movie?
Yeah.
Nah, I'll find something else.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not proud of that, but I found myself recently, I've been addicted to plane crash scenes. Right?
Waterboarding.
Yeah. Waterboarding. Yeah. No, so
What?
plane crash scenes, but like there's something about watching, that's usually the pivotal moment of a scene, of a movie, right? The movie Sully, is an actual thing that happened. It was vertical on the Hudson, and you watch the whole everything. They reenact it, and you watch them go
in real time, as in the same amount of time that like they got the actual flight time, and the events all in real time. Yeah,
synced it up with like
amazing.
Basically the black box recording. Yeah.
Yes.
Then there's the movie Flight. And it's like at the start of the movie, there's the scene where Denzel Washington turns the plane upside
down, right? Yeah.
And then like flips it back and then crashes it and blah, blah, blah. And so there's those ones. There's also the one from, ironically enough, The Incredibles, is when the movie The Incredibles, Mr. Incredible is I think he's been captured or whatever, and the family are going to like save him, and they're on a private jet, and they get like blown out of the sky, and because she's like, Miss Incredible, she's all stretchy and stuff. Like at the last minute, she like dives into the
becomes
back of
a parachute, right?
And she stretches herself over the kids, and then the plane blows up, and she is unconscious, but the kids aren't, and then they've got a, you know what I mean? Like, and so there's all these plane crash scenes where there's
a bit of a group moment.
A super fucking high, and it's a group moment, and it's the thing where I'm like, oh, I just fucking don't feel like, I'm on lunch or whatever I'm doing, and I'm kind of like, I want to feel something, like I want to watch something where I can be like, oh wow, that little thing really was its own like movie that I got to see in this little bit of time that I've got. And those I find are the most effective for me to watch and be like, oh man, I feel like I get that good, like
the adrenaline hit.
Yeah, I get the endorphins of having watched a movie in the short amount of time that I have, as opposed to just like a random action scene or something like that. It doesn't do the same.
So do you watch the start of like US Marshals?
Yeah, what's the start of US Marshals again?
That's where there's a plane crash in that. It goes down where...
Yeah. It's been a while.
Wesley Snipes' character got... Yeah. He gets away from the... Yeah.
Well, so... See, I don't think that would have the same... The thing that I like are the ones where it feels less like an action scene and more like a something that's happened. Like the flight scene is like... Fuck,
so you just want the real tragedy. Just the real tragedy.
But it's
like, no, I can't get off to this. I need to know people actually died.
Well, no.
Fucking hell.
But so my question to you is, like, what's your go-to, like, if you're looking for a movie to watch, what's your go-to, like, oh, I want to see a movie that's got blah in it?
Oh,
like what?
Oh man, that changes mood to mood.
Yeah.
Absolutely changes mood to mood. Sometimes it's literally I want like just comedy. So like depends how dumb comedy I want to go. Like there's a whole spectrum of like dumb through to intelligent comedy that I want, and then there's like I want an action film, like, but I don't want one that's just fucking dumb, or I'll be like, I don't think I select movies like that.
Okay, let me put it to you a different way. What's your like go-to like scene? Like the like
scene.
Yeah. Like what's what's something that if you see it come up on YouTube, you'll just watch it every time?
Again, depends what it's for. So, like, if I'm testing speakers,
right, good one,
like,
good one.
I will choose. I go to, and like, I generally can't stand this film, but as for like sound, Attack of the Clones, there's a scene where Jango Fett is chasing Obi-Wan through an asteroid field.
Yeah,
and Jango lets off these two like sonic mines.
right.
And when they explode, they like implode first, and it sucks all of the sound out of it. And goes,
yeah,
and like makes this amazing sound. And the cool thing was there's a callback to it in The Mandalorian as well, like in season 2 when they're in the Slave One after they've like joined up forces with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And Boba Fett drops these two mines, and it does the big again. I was like, yes,
I do remember that.
Thing.
That was sick.
They did the thing.
They did the thing.
Yeah. But yeah, or I mean, it's always going to come back to Star Wars, Doug. Like before when I told you I solved that problem with the speakers outside.
Yeah.
Like I put just the start of any Star Wars film on, and I put the theme song with the crawl.
Yeah.
And I want to know that I'm going to get that like serotonin from like seeing the crawl, like, because the crawl just on a tinny set of speakers, you don't feel it. If you're at a cinema, or you're in a little home theater, or you just with a good surround sound system, and the march is going and the letters are going up the screen, you're just like, yes, I'm in. Like, and you know, like, it just fires me up so much. Like,
you do feel like you're being pinned to your seat. Yeah. And
I get this rising like excitement in the pit of my stomach. I'm just like, gonna watch a Star Wars, you know, and like it, to me, that's just like everything. So whenever I'm testing speakers or something like that, it's always Star Wars. It's like, I want to know that watching this movie with this sound is going to make me feel everything as though I'm in a cinema and I'm getting excited about watching a new Star Wars film.
I have to know, does it every time you start watching a Star Wars movie, do you say, I'm going to watch a Star Wars in your head? Is that what you...
Very subconsciously, but yes. Just like every time I am just as excited. Even more so, like, I don't force people that I'm with to watch Star Wars or anything like that. Like, I certainly haven't, like, made Jill endure it or anything like that. But, like, if someone's interested and we're watching it together and they've never seen it, like, whoo boy.
Yeah.
Like, I get excited. I'm like, oh, yes, someone else is going to get into it, you know? But it's, yeah, I do get excited every time I still watch a Star Wars film, yeah.
Well, I guess that brings me to then, what is your flick?
My flick this week is actually, I had two. So I was gonna decide which one I was gonna do. It's Scream 2.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I realized the other day that I had never seen the first Scream movie all the way through. I realized I had just watched like that first scene with Drew Barrymore a ton of times and then never finished it.
Right.
So let me tell, but like just through pop culture knowledge, I know who the killers are in that first movie.
Mm.
So like once I started watching it, I was like, Christ, this is obvious. Like it's just, like if you know who it is from, like they are giving you hints from frame number one on who it is. Like,
Yeah, it's like the whole cast of Dawson's Creek or some shit, isn't it?
no. That's the second film. So that's what I want to get to. So like the first movie, it's got like, Jamie Kennedy and, is it Skeet Ulrich? Yeah, Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah. Skeet Ulrich and
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, of course.
Yeah. And, the obvious ones like your Courtney Cox and Liev Schreiber and, Nev Campbell and what have you. But then I was like, okay. I was like, all right, well, now I've seen that. I'm going to go back and watch the rest. I hadn't seen Scream 2 before, ever. I had seen Scream 3. I saw Scream 3 in the cinema. But I've not seen 4. And there's a bunch of other stuff that, so that's I watched a part of Scream 1 and Scream 3. That was like my entire, pedigree with Scream.
Right.
So
I've seen Scary Movie. I've never seen any of the Scream movies.
No. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I was fucking 10 when they came out.
Yeah, true.
So when it was popular, so
they are very, very 90s because the first use of a mobile phone that I saw was in Scream 2 and only one person had one.
Which is a handy thing when you're the only fucking one.
Yeah. So most of the time, all of the phone calls, when they're answering the phone's like, "Hello, Sydney." It's all on like landlines.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And so there's even a very 90s problem. Sarah Michelle Gellar is in Scream 2 and she's on a wireless landline, right? And so she walks outside because she hears someone in the house upstairs, and she walks outside to try and call the police. At first I saw her, she's like, I can hear someone inside, and she's on the phone, and they're like, go outside, run to get campus security and call them. And she's like, yeah, I think you're right. I was like, clever. She went outside. She didn't go upstairs to investigate. I was like, clever girl. That's the thing you should do.
Clever girl.
And yeah, Jurassic Park reference.
Yeah.
But so she goes outside, but the reception is shit. Like it's too far away from the
because it's a cordless phone.
It's a cordless, phone. Yeah, correct. It's cordless, so it's too far away from the charging thing. And so she goes outside to try and call campus security, and it's like it just keeps the person keeps, I can't understand you, I'm hanging up, and just keeps hanging up. So she has to go back inside the house in order to call campus security. By that time, the killer's downstairs and gets her, right?
Yeah.
So, but man, the popularity of that first movie back in the 90s, man, that inspired some actors and actresses to sign on.
Yeah.
Because, man, Scream 2 has Jada Pinkett Smith in it.
Right.
Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it. Jerry O'Connell's in it.
Are there any other three named people in that movie?
Wow. Obviously your Nev Campbell, your Courtney Cox, David Arquette is in it. Liev Schreiber's back.
Courtney Cox Arquette.
No, only by number 3 she becomes Courtney Cox Arquette.
Yeah, well, in spirit, I guess.
But also, but in the Sarah Michelle Gellar, like I said, but there's a fictional movie within the movie called Stab, and it's literally the movie of the first movie.
Yeah.
And Tori Spelling plays Nev Campbell's character, and Owen Wilson plays the Skeet Ulrich character. There's just so many people just signed on to the movie.
I guess at the time too, Owen Wilson would have made sense because Owen Wilson would have been a lot younger then, I guess.
He was hell younger back then, yeah. And he's wearing a wig that's very much like Skeet Ulrich's, and it's hairs in his eyes, and And like,
All right.
there's the Tori Spelling casting is actually a throwback to a line in the first movie where someone says like, "Who would you want to play you in a scary movie?" And someone suggests some other actress, and Nev Campbell's like, "Yeah, I'd like that." But knowing my luck, it'd be Tori Spelling. Which they then doubled down on and got her for the second one.
What a great like foreshadowing to be like, right, like that's the actually I'll have to remember for next week, but I've definitely seen examples of where people in media will just say a thing as a joke, but knowing that like if the thing gets popular enough, it will manifest. There's a specific example of that. I'm not going to remember what it was, but I do love the balls on people to just be like, let's just do this thing and then see whether those people get hassled into people.
Yeah.
You've got to now.
Do you know what it was?
What?
Donald Glover as Lando.
That's one. Yeah, that's one. Exactly.
That was one where people have been saying that was dream casting for years, and Donald Glover himself was like, "Yeah, I'll fucking do that, absolutely."
Also, he loved Star Wars. So it was
Yes.
a no-brainer.
Yeah. Oh, and people wanted him as Miles Morales in the Spider-Man universe as well, but by the time
why he got the
he got the cameo. Yeah, but not as Miles Morales, as Miles Morales' uncle, who is a character in the comic books who becomes a villain called the Grifter or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So he's another character, but it's but So, but then the next thing about it was like, so I'm gonna continue on. I'm gonna go and watch Scream 3 again, but the soundtracks to Scream 1 and 2, like obviously the recurring song that keeps turning up is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' Red Right Hand. But like the soundtracks for 1 and 2 are very like it's almost like, because it's set in California, there's like that real like SoCal type soundtrack. Like there's that real like almost like so here she goes again, you know, whatever that song is. That sort of vibe, right? Like that 90s like very palatable radio rock. But then Scream 3, the soundtrack, I don't know if you've seen it, but it just goes nu metal as fuck.
Really?
Like, but yeah, the Scream 3 soundtrack is all like
let the bodies hit the floor.
Godsmack, you know, Stained, go check it out. Like, I'm pretty certain Creed has 2 songs on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm less interested now. You've
no, that's on Scream 3. So, and there's another reason to avoid Scream 3. Courtney Cox like cut her hair into like these rotten bangs, but they're really short, so they don't hang. They just kind of sit out like that. Her bangs kind of just, they're really, oh man, it's the worst haircut of all time.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I'm really selling it.
I liked the scary movies, but even then I couldn't go back and watch those. But because I was so young, I was under the impression as a kid that the Scream movies were like proper horror movies, but they're just dumb slasher flicks.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sure it'd be half enjoyable to watch, but by watching scary movies, it's a bit like the Simpsons thing we were talking about the other day about, when you're a kid and you watch the Simpsons, you get all these pop culture references, and then later on you find out where they're from because you never
like, oh, that's from The Godfather.
You didn't realize they were referencing shit. You thought that was a Simpsons joke. And having seen Scary Movie, like, I don't know, it would be out of pure like morbid curiosity of like, I wonder how shitty these movies are, rather than I'm excited to see,
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why David Arquette's character is parodied in Scary Movies called Doofy. Because he's a doofus, and he like in the second movie. So in the first movie, he gets slashed up pretty bad, and the second movie gets slashed up pretty bad as well. But so in the second one, like, so a lot of his nerves and shit are fucked in his arm and whatever. So for most of the movie, he's sort of like his like right arm's like
Strong
fucked.
hand.
Yeah, and like so that's why you get him. He's like this sort of semi-disabled person in Scary Movie. Like it's actually quite offensive. Yeah.
Right.
The early 2000s were a different time, my friend.
They were a different time, and they're gone by now.
Yeah.
They've passed on.
Yes, indeed.
Did you have a chat topic? I feel like I had one, and then we fucked around. Can I just say, full disclosure as well? Fuck, this was such a hard. Like, we're 2 days now that we've been trying to record this thing, and we've had such a hard time trying to get together to make all this happen. Like, you know, it's in theory a very simple thing, but it was just a bit of a nightmare. But so I'm at the point now where I actually don't even remember what I was thinking about earlier in the week to talk about.
Yeah, same. And without like going into some sort of like, oh, let's talk about lockdown sort of chat. Like, I don't think we need that. Actually, there's a couple of things that have come up like in our like Instagram stories and that sort of stuff when we're asking questions. Like someone said to talk about The Matrix.
Yes.
So, I mean, were those like formative movies for you at all, or like, and with 4 and 5 being filmed back to back right now, like is that something you're excited about, or you give
I'm interested, but before we go any further, I will say we have had quite a few suggestions for certain things and stuff, and we will get to them. There's some stuff that I have to watch and listen to and stuff before I'm willing to sort of talk about it and stuff. But yeah, we will get to this. We asked for suggestions. We're not ignoring suggestions. We're getting there.
We get very distracted.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy time. But it's about to get a little less busy. So, so The Matrix. I found it really interesting. I was going to bring it up before when you said about the fact that you saw the Drew Barrymore scene from Scream like a bunch of times and then realized you never finished the movie.
Yeah.
So back like Ozstar days, before Foxtel, before it was Foxtel.
You had Ozstar.
We had Ozstar, and we you have movie channels, but they're not on demand, right? And so there'd be afternoons I get home from school and I'm like, I wonder what's on the movie channel, and turn it on, and it's the last 20 minutes of The Matrix. And I swear 5 times I got home and it was the end of and so one day I actually went through the TV guide on the weekend. I found when they were going to be playing The Matrix next, and I scheduled, like, I'm going to start, rather than going and hiring it out, there was a kid. I scheduled in, I'm like, right, this time I've got to have the TV, and a whole different movie when you see the start of it first. Because like I just kept seeing like the subway fight and all the other shit and the stop the bullets and blah blah blah.
All the way from when like the guns are like flying in at them like this, and then guns. We're gonna need lots of guns. No.
It was literally like it wasn't even. It was the subway scene, and then him running away, and then stopping the bullets. That was it. All the other shit before going to save Morpheus and everything, I hadn't seen any of that.
Wow.
All I'd seen was Neo fight Mr. Smith, and then him run away and stop some bullets, and then that's the end of the movie. And so then to go and watch this stuff, the first 20 minutes or so, I was like, I don't even feel like I'm watching the same fucking movie. Like I thought it was just action the whole time. Anyway, I don't.
Doug, I've got a story about this. I just don't know like how appropriate this is, or whether I should tell it or not. I'm going to tell it, and
I mean, we can always cut it if it's nasty.
Yeah. Okay. So 1999. Yep. I'm
the year is 1999.
I go to the movies to see The Matrix with a girl, and very early on, we started making out.
And she took off my pants, and then returned.
Yeah, and
it just reminds me of Blink-182 every time anyone says that.
Yeah, so this is the story of my first hand job, Doug.
Oh wow! Well, I mean, there you go.
Yeah. So, the first 20, 30 minutes of that movie, I just didn't see, because like I was just amazed that someone was touching me.
Yep.
Very preoccupied. And so like by the time I like came to my senses, all of a sudden, like he's coming out of this fucking pod and I'm like, why is he bald now? What the hell is going on? So the movie made very little sense to me to begin with.
Did you go back and watch it again? Like,
yeah, of course I did.
At the movies though, like.
Yeah, with my friends, yeah,
that's good. Yeah, no, see that's
I didn't get jacked off that time.
Next time, I recommend pick a movie you don't want to see.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Look, we can decide whether we want to reveal that to the world or not.
I mean, okay, so I'll take it one step further than that. Not really. But so my when I was in high school, our school would do a movie night, right? Where they would take our school was across the road from the cinema. So they would do like, hey, it's end of term, we're going to do a movie night. So I saw, I think it was, it wasn't Finding Nemo, but it was like a big Disney film that came out at the time. They took us over and we watched that on like a weeknight. And then with the last two Matrix movies, because our vice principal really liked the Matrix, he's like, right, we're going to take you guys to watch the Matrix.
How old are you?
I think we were
at this point.
Grade 10. I think you had to be.
Oh, okay.
I think you had to be grade 10.
You had to be 15 or over. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. I thought you meant you were like 12.
But so nothing.
That's not appropriate.
Nothing specifically for me, but I can only say that like I know that what's her face, Trinity is like has like some scenes in that movie where you're like, damn, Trinity, and I'm pretty sure there's a sex scene in the second one as well.
Yes.
Yes. And you've got this fucking all these prepubescent.
Well, there's basically a big orgy. Like the rave scene. Yeah,
exactly right. And so you've got a full cinema of maybe like 300 kids that are all sitting in there watching this movie, and like there were teacher chaperones around and whatever like that. But I can only imagine that you are not the only one who's had a hand job in a Matrix movie. Like you just don't. Yeah, man.
Oh no!
It's just one of those things where I'm surprised that they ever did that, because to me, taking like teenagers out to do anything where they would be somewhere where they can get up to anything, you just don't want to be a part of any of that.
Yeah. No. How many movie marathons did you ever go to? Did they ever do those in Gladstone?
Fuck, I went to. I know I went to a couple, but I can't. I know Lord of the Rings, man. I couldn't give a shit about Lord of the Rings. My missus absolutely loves Lord of the Rings, so she's definitely gone and done Lord of the Rings marathons and stuff.
Okay, well, when the new TV series comes out, I'll go over to your place and watch it with your missus.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not going to be into it at all.
I couldn't give. Yeah, I like. Put it this way, I have come around to it. I've warmed up to it because she likes it so much, and I don't.
The Hobbit movies were not as good.
Yeah, no, she didn't. She wasn't a fan of that. She was like, why did they kind of bother? But
why'd they make 3 movies out of 1 book?
Exactly that. We were watching the second movie and she was like, this is fucking, they could have done this all in the first movie. Everything could have happened in the first movie, but first one
I remember my sister's read all of the books, and I remember her just going like, good God, they've stretched this out. There was no need to do this.
Yeah, and they couldn't decide whether it was for kids or adults, because apparently like The Hobbit originally was more of a story for children. But so then they've got this movie that's like, got some pretty serious sort of, action and not adult shit, but it's not lighthearted all the way, but it's also not heavy all the way. It's got like weird like stuff that's kind of jolly Seven Dwarf style shit, and then it this couldn't make any
just sense. Too many of them as well.
Yeah,
just too many, like to keep a track or give a shit about any of them.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. So,
and I know they're from the book and they'd get hung if they didn't have all of them in the movie, but my God, there are just too many to care about.
Yeah, too many, just too many.
There's 14, I think. 14.
If you were going to do that, make a TV show out of that. Make a 1 seat, like a mini series out of it, and then you can cover more characters if you're gonna stretch it out, do it the right way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like there's they made 3 3-hour films. That's 9 hours. You could have got a 12-part miniseries and got 12 hours out of it, but got more depth out of all of it.
Yeah. Or treated it more like a TV show. Like Game of Thrones is the kind of thing where, you could never possibly cover that in just a movie. But when you're making movies, you have to cut and shut them like Marvel stuff. You have to cut and shut everything like a movie, even though it's part of a bigger picture. As opposed to TV shows, you can break it down and you can focus on one bit of a story, and you can cut and shut that in a shorter amount of time and break the story down into the appropriate chunks, as opposed to trying to get a 3-hour arc out of something that shouldn't have one. Anyway, the Matrix, bring on the new Matrix. I don't know what they're fucking going to do. I have no clue how it's all going to play out. I know a lot of people shit on the second and third. I had no problem with them.
No, I found the second one too long, but apart from that, no problems.
Yeah. I think the people got really hung up on the fact that the first one was this, it had a foot in both worlds, whereas it feels like the second one was that was a lot more heavy on like the Zion stuff and a lot more heavy on all of the background stuff, whereas the original first movie has this relatability to a lot of it set in the Matrix.
Really and truly, man, like if you were to really break it down and just remove the idea of like that these films are a successful franchise and it needed to, they were like, well, it'd be dumb if we didn't do a sequel. Really and truly, that movie, like, just perfect on its own, didn't need any more. Like it could have been a totally self-contained film and just been totally fine.
Yeah. Yep. But hey, I'm always up for new shit. I mean, like I said last week, I don't love fucking Die Hard 5. I hate Die Hard 5, put it that way. But I don't walk around every day going like, fuck, that movie exists. Like, how the fuck do I go on with my life? If they want to keep making Matrix movies and they're trash, whatever. I don't have to fucking watch them. I mean,
it's like the Keanu Reeves renaissance, really. That's inspired. Like, there's no way if Keanu Reeves' star wasn't as bright right now that these films would be getting made.
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, totally. So
the microphone is attached to my head on a swivel, so I go to cough and I turn my head. Why? So stupid. I can only imagine that we've hit the
I reckon we've hit definitely 120.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah. Look, we will get to the rest of the suggestions. You got a clap cancelling mic there. I didn't hear anything of that at all. Nah, man. There's nothing. Yeah, there you go. So
amazing.
I heard that one. What the fuck's that about? I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. Just recording on Zoom is weird. I apologize in advance to all the audio listeners if this comes out crap. It sounds pretty good to us at the moment, but we have no means to cut or EQ, or we there's no way that we can fix it. So if it's bad, blame COVID.
Blame COVID. Fuck COVID.
We need to personify COVID. We need to find a person that is COVID, and we can yell at them.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. Why not? That'd be a good place to start. It'd be a really good place.
Good boxing bag.
Who knows when we record next? We're probably still going to be in lockdown because this Sunday that they reckon it's going to finish. But
I mean,
I'll hold my breath.
When this episode comes out, if lockdown isn't extended, then we'll be out of lockdown.
And it'll look like we did this for nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although tomorrow, the episode we recorded last week is going to come out, and it's going to look like we're doing what we're not supposed to do. So anyway, you cut it with difference. We're going to look like wankers.
Maybe put a disclaimer at the start, going like, "This was recorded earlier."
I don't get who's coming after us. Like they know where to find us.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right, Big Doug. I'll catch you next week, if not before.
All right, no worries. Love your guts.
Love you guys, bro.